What is the dumbest way you have managed to get laid? Let a girl eat some of my ramen at a party. She insisted on having more and I told her there was plenty more back at my apartment. So I just picked up my dog from Petco after getting him groomed and ran inside to pay my bill and pick up some dog treats. The girl at the register was clearly having a bad day. We chatted up a bit, and she explained she just got dumped by a guy over a tattoo. I told her that I was having a bad day too, and if she wanted to give me a call after she is off and I'll buy her a beer. Later that evening she sent me a text asking if I wanted to see the tattoo she got dumped over. I said yes. She then sent me a picture of a pair of wolf paws tattooed on her chest. I just responded nicely and she then asked if I wanted to see them in person. My friend was at the club and he's the kind of guy that doesn't go to clubs at all. He saw a girl on the dance floor he liked and we all told him he should go talk to her. He went down and 10 minutes later we saw him walking out of the club with the girl he liked. We were all shocked he got a girl the first try. The next day we asked what happened and he told us he just complimented how good her belly button looked. My buddy used to try to do this thing at the bar where he would dance his butt into girls and hope they'd start dancing with him. It never worked even one time. But one time I was standing on the edge of the dance floor and he was trying to do it to this girl and she grabbed onto me and pulled me into her and whispered in my ear pretend to be my boyfriend so that my friend would go away. My friend left and I danced with her all night and then spent the rest of the weekend with her.
Girls, what is the greenest flag you can find in a guy? A couple months ago I transferred to a new school after getting bullied for my appearance, and I met a ridiculously pretty boy. He was assigned to show me around, and I quickly realized how kind and funny he was, and everyone in the hallways kind of gawked at him whenever we walked past. I immediately knew he was the Aaron Warner of this school. By the end of the tour, he asked for my number, saying I could text him for anything, and even shared his class schedule to let me know when he was free. I was shocked to see that we had a lot of classes together, and I asked him if he was fine if we walked to those classes together. He said yes and smiled so bright I swear it almost blinded me. But for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I needed to be scared for the next day of school. So, we got used to talking every day. He sat next to me in some classes and introduced me to his group of friends. I even realized we had a lot of things in common, like our love for the same music and mangas. And I knew I was important to him when he bought me a just because gift of one of my favorite mangas. He told me he thought of me when he saw it, and hoped that I thought of him whenever I saw it too. I couldn't help but have a crush on him after that, but there was no way in hell I would ever confess. I was insanely insecure about my appearance because of the bullying I suffered at my old school. It was all because my teeth were highlighter yellow no matter how much I brushed, and no one ever let me forget it. People would ask me why my teeth were piss yellow, and they'd leave toothbrushes on my desk with sarcastic notes like thought you could use this. It honestly made me feel worthless and I didn't think he'd want to go out with them. So, I settled for being his friend instead. However, I had no idea that just being close to him made me a target for bullying all over again, because the popular girl also had a crush on him and would terrorize anyone who got close to him. I learned this the hard way, when she came up to me and called me butter chompers. I immediately got reminded of all the cruel jokes I experienced. I almost cried and would have run away like a coward had it not been for her cornering me. She asked me why I was spending so much time with her man, but when I told her that he wasn't dating anyone she asked if I thought that meant I had a chance, and said that he would never go out with someone with teeth so yellow. She told me to leave him alone or else she was going to ruin my life. I tried not to let her words affect me because my pretty boy wasn't an awful person like her, but she made good on her threat after that. She would shove me in the hallways, would sneak into my classes to draw pictures of me on the whiteboard with yellow teeth, and she'd ask if I ever brushed. She even convinced some of my friends to start calling me butter chompers as well, saying that if they didn't she would bully them too. The nickname stuck, and it made me even more insecure about my teeth. I tried to smile less, keep my mouth shut, and was terrified that someone would catch a glimpse of my yellow teeth. Luckily, despite her effort, the guy we both liked didn't care about the rumors. He still talked to me, sat with me in class, and would walk me home and would tell me to smile more because he liked my smile. When my bully realized, she crossed a line that changed everything. She somehow found out where I lived and for a week straight she'd send me anonymous letters calling me butter chompers, pathetic, and that she knew her man was embarrassed to be seen with me. I was sure that this bullying would stop when I fixed my teeth, and though I had given up years ago, I had to try again if I wanted to make sure she didn't win. That weekend I spent researching ways to get rid of my yellow teeth. I saw many things like charcoal toothpaste and whitening strips, but one would hurt my teeth enamel and the other would irritate my gums. I was honestly considering getting a bleach and tone, until I found out about xylitol and hydroxyapatite. Xylitol eliminates bacteria that causes the decay, and hydroxyapatite makes your enamel stronger in order to fight against things that cause cavities. I also found out that fluoride leads to brown spots in the tooth and weakens it, making it more brittle and easier to chip off, and all the toothpaste I've been using has it. So I told myself, if I can just find a toothpaste that has xylitol and hydroxyapatite, this would help my teeth become wittier, and remove the need for me to ever use fluoride. After learning that, I started searching for a toothpaste with xylitol and hydroxyapatite. I ended up buying this one called ORL toothpaste, because it was the only one with the right dosage of each ingredient, and all the reviews were talking about how quick it whitened their teeth. After just a couple of days I started seeing my teeth becoming whiter. With each day that passed I knew that soon I wouldn't be called butter chompers anymore, and all the jokes about me would stop, because the one thing I was most insecure about was going to be gone. I was gaining more confidence by the day, so much so that I started to flirt with my crush. I tell him how big his hand was and measure our hand sizes just to make an excuse to touch him. I compliment him on his looks and smarts, and he'd smile while telling me how he thought I was so pretty. I went for the kill when we were sitting next to each other one day and made our thighs touch. My heart skipped a beat when he didn't move and noticed he blushed instead. After 2 whole weeks of using the ORL toothpaste, my teeth were so white that I couldn't contain my smile anymore. I smiled so much that it made my cheeks hurt, but it was worth it because I wanted to show off my pearly whites no matter what. My crush even noticed and said he liked my smile. He always had. Since I got approval from the one person that I wanted the most, talking to everyone else after that came really easily. But while I was so happy with my white teeth, my bully wasn't. She tried her usual taunting while I was alone waiting for my crush in the school cafeteria. I was ready to defend myself, but my crush quickly stepped in. He told her off right there in front of everyone, making it clear that he would never be interested in someone as cruel as her. He told her that if she ever even looked at me she would regret it. My bully actually looked scared, but also on the verge of tears. She ended up leaving the cafeteria in embarrassment, and didn't bother me for the rest of the day. Later, my crush walked me home and apologized for not calling her out on her BS earlier. I told him it was fine, and that I was surprised she even listened to him. He laughed, but then he got all serious. He grabbed my hands and told me he really liked me and he wanted to make sure I never got bullied again. He asked me out, and I didn't hesitate in saying yes. Word got around really quickly at school, which made it really clear to my bully that she would never have a chance with him, and the nickname Butter Chompers disappeared along with her. Instead, people started to notice my bright and white smile, and I couldn't help but think how much using ORL toothpaste had made a difference in my teeth, and honestly my overall confidence. As for me and my crush, we dated all throughout high school, and every time I saw my bully, I couldn't help but smile a little wider.
What moment made you realize your girlfriend/boyfriend would never be your wife/husband? 1. When she asked her friend to flirt with me to test me. 2. When I met her dad. I couldn't stand the man and I knew I couldn't put up with him for the rest of one of our lives. I tried extremely hard to stay with her, but anytime we went to a family event or holiday it made me die a little inside. When we talked about our future she always said she wanted to live close to him. The thought of him being a grandfather to any possible kids we would have had sealed the deal and I had to call it off. 3. When we finally got into deep talks about how we viewed our futures and I realized our goals didn't align. 4. He couldn't handle any serious conversation. Every time I brought up the future, he'd just joke around or change the subject. It made me realize he wasn't in it for the long haul. 5. When we were looking for places to rent/buy for a home and she absolutely refused to compromise on where we'd be living. It's a long story, but her reasoning in that moment told me all I really needed to know about where I was placed as importance in her mind. 6. I was stuck in bed healing from a serious accident. I had several pelvic fractures and spinal fractures plus serious emotional trauma. My mom had come to stay with me to help take care of me. My ex came to visit one day like 2 weeks after the accident and he was pouting because I wouldn't sleep with him. Then he made a joke to my mother about how well endowed he was. 7. She lied badly about money and how much debt she was in. Her best friend showed me a text she had sent basically saying, all I need is to get him to marry me and he'll be stuck with my debts too. 8. He wanted a stay-at-home wife but without protection in case we split. I will not lose my financial independence for anyone. Too many horror stories. He married and his wife got caught out years later. 9. Pay attention to how they treat you when you are physically unwell and reliant on them. 10. When they openly admitted they didn't believe in compromise or teamwork in relationships. 11. When she told me that I was being selfish for wanting to go to the gym and work out. And no, it wasn't because of anything specific on a particular day that was more pressing at that moment. It was just in general, me wanting to do something for my own health instead of just devoting every second of my free time to her was selfish. 12. She called me at work to inform me that my favorite musician passed away and laughed in my face about it. My ex-fiancée tested my limits by telling everyone that I cheated, and she kicked me out, but it is the other way around, so I went nuclear and emailed the proof to everyone. I met my fiancée in my first year of college. We were both 18 and went from friends to lovers pretty quickly. We clicked so well, and everything was so easy. We had a really good relationship. It's the kind of relationship that everyone wishes they were in. It's the kind of relationship people idolize and say, if those two broke up, then love doesn't exist. You get the picture. Ashley was everything I sought in a woman. Funny, smart, attractive, down to earth, and family oriented. She wanted to build a life together. Our families got close throughout our relationship. It was like we were already one big family before even getting married. As planned, I popped the question a year ago, not knowing that this would change everything. She said yes, of course, but things started to change. Slowly but surely, over the months, she became more distanced. I tried to ignore it and chalk it up to nervousness. You know, cold feet before taking the big marriage plunge. I should have trusted my instincts. She always went out with her group of friends on the weekends. I've been on these outings before. Usually, it's clubbing and drinking. It's not my scene, but I trusted my girl, so I had no problem with her going without me. These outings became much more frequent after I popped the question. I tried to ignore my gut feeling that something was wrong about this. I should have listened. Last week, I got a text from one of her girlfriends. She said she feels super guilty about what's been going on. According to her, Ashley has been worried about getting married. She feels she hasn't had a chance to explore other options, and the prospect of getting locked down for life made her anxious. On these outings, she will frequently flirt with guys, dance with them, grind on them, and make out with them to get it out of. her system. Since she wasn't having intimacy with them, she didn't consider it cheating. According to the friend, she also gave one guy a BJ in the club bathroom. She sent me pictures and videos from some of those escapades. My heart sank. I felt like I had died that day. I thanked the friend for telling me and told her to keep it between us. For me, any form of cheating is a big no-no. I knew it was over. What makes this worse is that I have a past of cheating. She knows about my high school ex who cheated on me, and being a stupid teenager, I tried to end it all. This just cuts the whole situation even deeper. She knew how much hurt she could cause but continued with it. I wanted to crawl into bed and cry for a month. I wanted to be weak. I felt weak. After I protected myself, I decided to allow myself to mourn and cry over this. My fiancé and I share an apartment, and we both pay rent for 50-50. I took 2 days off work and covertly moved my things to my brother's house across the city. He knew about everything and immediately offered his place to me. The first day I moved non-essential items out when Ashley got back from work. She commented on it, but I brushed it off by saying I sold some stuff and took some more stuff to a storage unit to tidy and clear space up in our apartment. She didn't question it. I was furious on the inside about everything I learned but kept cool to avoid suspicion. She noticed I was a bit withdrawn, but I told her I was tired and stressed from work. On the second day, while she was at work, my brother and his wife came over to help me pack everything else, and I was fully moved out by 3 p.m. that day. Since then, I have avoided every form of communication my ex sent. I have completely cut her off. I refuse to talk to her or her family. I don't even want to confront her about what happened. She came home that day and saw everything was gone. She texted all my friends and family who texted me, but I only responded to my parents, who were fully behind me and my decision. Her family and friends are blowing up my phone and saying I'm an off for leaving without a word. They've even been blasting me on social media. I don't care. She knows what she did. To me, she is dead. She doesn't exist. Because of all this backlash, my brother and his wife are now questioning whether I should completely ignore everyone. This has caused me to doubt myself. So here I am. Ada? Update. I didn't want to make this whole thing public. Despite what she did, some part of me still cares for her. I was with her for 6 years. You can't just throw that away overnight. I concluded that talking to her parents was the right thing to do. Only her family needed to know. Everyone else can have whatever opinion they want of me. I don't care. The people who truly know and are close to me are the only ones I care about. I sent a detailed message of what happened to my closest friends and family. All of them, of course, believed me right away. No pictures needed. I didn't feel like it was necessary or appropriate to spread those pictures of her, so I didn't. Now that the people I cared about were sorted, I moved on to her parents. I messaged her mom, who, by the way, I had gotten so close to I considered her a second mom, and she considered me a son. She was very upset with me but agreed to meet up. I felt this needed to be an in-person conversation rather than a nuke. I met her mom and dad at a diner we frequented for breakfast. I know, it's so cliché. It was quite emotional. They were understandably upset. They didn't do anything wrong, and I cut them out of my life like nothing had happened. I understood why they were upset, so when they confronted me, I was very quiet, just listening, letting them get it all out. I admit I was tearing up with them. That is until they accused me of some things. It's been a whole week since all of this went down. In that week, a lot happened. Apparently, according to her parents, my ex convinced everyone that I cheated and that she kicked me out, and I haven't been answering anyone because I was so ashamed of what I had done. LOL. I laughed out loud. I said sorry, wished them a happy life, and walked out. I was so upset I couldn't even have imagined being accused of this. What a joke. I can't believe her parents would believe her, throwing me under the bus so fast. I walked out because I'm sure I would have said things I'd regret to her parents. I didn't want to do this, but she left me no choice. I activated the nuclear option. I went home, made an email titled "For Your Reading Pleasure," and attached every picture her friend sent me, including screenshots of the chat with her friend where she expressed how guilty she felt about the cheating. I also attached the videos of her grinding and making out with other guys. I included a long explanation detailing everything that has happened since D-Day. I ended the email by saying that I did not wish to be contacted and expected my ring back at some point. I attached her parents, any friend I could think of, and a coworker I just so happened to know. F it. So that's where I'm at now. I may be the asshole for sending that email, but she tested my effing limits when I found out what she was telling people. I have zero regrets. I am currently crashing at my brother's place on the pull-out couch. He's helping me get through this as much as I can. Who knows what kind of fallout that email will create. Either way, I'm going to sit back and enjoy it with popcorn, whilst sobbing.
My friends are outing my best friend, because he used to be a woman, so I taught them a lesson by cutting them off for being transphobic, and got nuclear revenge. My bestie Leo and I have been best friends for over a decade, so I've known him since before his transition. He didn't live in the city I did until about 4 years ago, but when he moved, I helped him get a job, make friends, etc. Some people think he's my boyfriend of a year. The truth is a bit more complicated. 2 years ago, I got out of a very harmful relationship. When I was back on the market, I got swarmed with casual guys asking me out. Leo pretended to be my boyfriend to fend off an especially pushy guy at a bar where we're both regulars, and we kept it going because, 1, he was being pressured by his co-workers and mentors, who kept telling him that he's a catch and should date, but he hasn't felt ready, and 2, I needed peace to focus on my therapy and healing from my past relationship. Note, our close friend group knows that Leo and I are not really a couple. Another guy like that was Ian, another friend in the group. He asked me out about 4 or 5 months after my breakup. I explained that I needed at least a 2-year break from dating to focus on therapy, work through my trauma, and take time to focus on myself and what I want. He said he understood, and not even 2 months later, we found out that Ian and another person in the group were a couple, and now they're engaged. Ian has been a friend for maybe 3 or 4 years. We were never especially close, and I always just viewed him as a member of our 6-person friend group. We only ever hung out with the group, never one-on-one. I guess I'm saying this to point out that Ian is sort of like the Flash to my Batman. We get along well when we're with the other super friends, but don't expect too many duo team-ups. At a party at my place, where many of our co-workers and bosses were present, Leo's boss pointed at me and Leo, saying something about how he can't wait for us to settle down and have kids, and asked, "Come on, Leo, what are you waiting for, man?" Ian snorted and muttered man incredulously, then said, "Yeah, if you want to call Leo a man, that's on you." At first, our friends thought it was a supernatural joke, since a lot of us loved the show. But then Ian declared that Leo is actually a woman and provided proof by showing pictures of Leo pre-transition. Ian then made comments implying that I must be a lesbian, I'm bi, and that Leo and I must actually be a real couple and sleeping together. He was kicked out of my home. Being outed as a trans man at work caused a lot of drama, and Leo became depressed, staying with me for the better part of a month. He didn't eat much, lost a ton of weight, and almost never left the house unless he had to go to work. He's been saying very self-loathing, morbid things here and there. I've been really worried about him. I won't lie, I was furious. I'm not an overly confrontational person and am a recovering doormat, but this made my whole being boil. I've been focused on being attentive to Leo and trying to channel my angst, anger, and ire into productive things. But the friend group is a bit complicated, as most think Ian is a jerk for outing Leo, but some also think Leo is in the wrong for not being honest with them. Here's where I might be the schlong. I texted Ian and his fiancée, our mutual friend in the group, Clara, and said that Ian isn't welcome at my home for the foreseeable future and that his future acceptance depends on his actions and Leo's ability to forgive. But Clara defended him, saying Ian was just upset that Leo hid that he was really trans all along and now felt uncomfortable. She said Leo should have said something, at least to our group, before joining outings like swimming, where the men change in the men's locker room and the women in the women's, etc. She said she feels hurt that another woman saw Ian undressing, and the situation devolved from there. In this group, we all work in the same industry but in different departments and mostly at different companies. We're always adjacent to one another in our careers. That's to say, everyone here usually makes at least okay money, and we all know each other's co-workers and the like. I got a call from another friend, Daniel, who is hiring for a senior position. He said Ian had applied for it. Daniel is essentially above Ian, as Daniel is the boss of Ian's current boss. Ian had put me down as a reference, which is something our group does frequently when applying. Daniel was content to use the same letter of recommendation I had sent before when Ian applied for his current position, but he wanted to cover all the bases. I told him that I no longer see Ian as an ethical, responsible, or suitable candidate in our field, given that he seems to be bigoted towards queer folks. As a queer woman, I no longer trust him and would not want to work with him if I had any say in it. Daniel was quiet and asked what caused the change, but I didn't tell him. I just said recent events have caused me to reassess. This was perhaps a week ago. Well, a few hours ago, Clara came over to my place and was pissed. She told me that Ian is getting grilled at work, that HR combed his social media, and they're now considering disciplinary actions against him. She said she knows it's me. She said Leo literally doesn't have the balls to call the company, so it had to be me. She seemed to think I had a crush on Ian and that he turned me down, so I was jealous of her and trying to ruin their lives. She called me desperate and degenerate. I snapped and asked her to leave. She then texted me the same argument she had before, and I reiterated via text that I don't want to speak to her or Ian ever again. I screenshotted all of this and sent it to our friend group chat before leaving the chat. Now I'm getting messages from almost everyone asking what's happening, but also saying that I'm going nuclear and went too far. I texted Leo, and he says he's not ready to deal with a friend group right now, so I can do what I think is right, and he'll regroup and come back to it when he's ready. Did I go too far in involving everyone? What do you think? Update. A little under a month ago, I posted about an ongoing issue. My best friend Leo was outed as a trans man publicly by our former mutual friend Ian. Ian had applied for a job before all this and used us as references, and I said that I don't find him to be trustworthy nor would I want to work with him. Another friend of ours, Clara, basically blamed me for Ian getting a lot of heat at work. The update is that they combed his social media and uncovered quite a few unsavory posts. I never knew this, but he's hugely and vocally transphobic and homophobic. So, instead of a promotion, he got fired. I had already left the friend group chat by this point, and I had blocked both Ian and Clara. My focus was on Leo, who was going through the deepest depression I've ever seen him experience, and we've known each other for a significant portion of our lives. I helped him find emergency therapy, and he stayed with me for almost a month because he was concerned he might relapse. He was spiraling, but thankfully, he's now on the other side of it all. Still, it was terrifying. Neither of us got much sleep during that time, and I called into work often out of exhaustion, concern, or simply feeling numb. A few weeks ago, I caught up with a friend from our old group named Ava, in her 30s, at a place we all frequent. She told me that Ian had been telling everyone that Leo is a woman in real life and cosplays as a man. My blood boiled, but then I heard about Ian being fired, and I'll admit, I didn't feel much sympathy. He hurt my best friend, so in my view, he got off lightly. Of course, about a week after that, I ran into him and Clara at our local grocery store. I'm a creature of habit, that's the store in my community, and I always get groceries on Sundays. Then, I walk across to the Starbucks next door, have tea, and scroll through my phone for a bit before biking back home. I saw them, they saw me, I avoided them, got my stuff, and walked to Starbucks. Ian, I guess, had things to say, so he ended up there too. He approached me as I waited for my coffee and started going on about how I stabbed him in the back, stooped low to do so, and now he has no job. He said he might have to move because of the rumors I spread about him and that he's being ostracized. He kept complaining, and since this is a Starbucks in a pretty liberal city, I just loudly said, well, that's what happens to transphobes, Ian. No one likes a bigot. Go away. While he continued talking, I couldn't hear over the nonsense, a big guy walked over and told him to leave. Ian then started arguing with this guy, and they began trading insults until Ian aggressively pointed a finger in my face and hurled a slur. I know. Like, seriously? Leave enough hate for the other people out there. It turns out being openly racist crosses a line, even more so than being everything phobic, because that's when people started shouting. Eventually, he was just drowned out, surrounded by people who seemed ready to stand up to him, some holding their phones up to record. I was forgotten and just sort of drifted back as he tried to take on a crowd of people from our city, where we don't tolerate that kind of behavior. He left and later sent Leo a long message accusing him of ruining his life because he is masquerading as a man. He said that if he were a real man, he would confront him himself rather than have his friend, me, go after him. Ian went on to say that if anything happens to him due to the stress of being so hated, since he's now getting trolled on social media and receiving threats, it will be Leo's fault. Ian mentioned he should sue Leo and me for defamation and lost wages since we started this witch hunt. Today, I heard he moved, without Clara. She's still here. I don't know about her situation right now, and honestly, I don't really care. I do know she met with Leo and apologized, which he accepted, but he made it clear that their friendship is over. She offered to go to Pride, which is happening locally, and Leo said she's welcome to go but not with him. She asked him to give me a note she wrote for me, which he did, but I haven't read it and probably won't. As far as I'm concerned, she doesn't exist anymore. So that's it. I had forgotten about my post until Leo asked me what happened with it, and I was like, oh yeah. Personally, as a lurker, I dislike unresolved stories, so here it is. Here's your conclusion. That's a wrap.